Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're watching. Welcome back to Wager Talk TV for First Pitch, a 7-day-a-week show right here on the Wager Talk platforms. My name is Andrew McGinnis. Join me today, Brian Leonard, Teddy Covers, and Dave Koken. Teddy, I want to start with you. I haven't seen you in a little while. I know that you're rolling. I watched a free play video you did the other day, and you started it off by saying, you're not really a guy to hype yourself up too much. I'll do it for you, man. I'll hype you up. I mean, you're crushing it, all sports. And that's the best part when you can, announce an all sports run, not just one sport. 68% all sports last 4 weeks, 23-7 run in the NBA. Congratulations, Teddy, and welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Andrew. But honestly, I'm not surprised I'm running good right now. I'm not surprised that a lot of the guys at Wager Talk and Sportsman are running good right now. It makes sense. What happens when we do sport after sport, year after year? Sometimes you get a little bit tired. Sometimes your focus isn't there. Sometimes, for whatever reason, you're not as sharp. But when you get a break and you come back and you're focused, and it's all about information at this time, where really, if you're doing the research, you're watching the games, you should be picking winners right now. And the fact that there's a lot of guys that are in good form, it doesn't surprise me at all. This is what we do. This is what people pay us to do. And when the focus and the energy and the things are lining in place like they have over the last 6 weeks or so since sports has come back, I'm expecting a lot of these runs to continue, to be perfectly honest. There's a lot of guys that are making their clients money right now. I'm just one of them.
Very well said. Not just us, but a lot of people at both websites doing great work for their clients. And that's what we get paid to do. Speaking of what we get paid to do, what can we grab from you today at both Wager Talk and Sports Memo?
I've got a pair up in the NBA, one for tonight and then a 5%er for tomorrow. I think I'm 80% with my 5%ers in the NBA in 2020. They've been good. But it's so a pair of NBA available right now. And, of course, I've got college football for tomorrow. I've got NFL for week 1, all locked and loaded. So, but again, don't ever buy any of my plays. Never. If you want to get on board, I encourage you, get a weekly package, get a monthly package. Let me show you what I can do for you. Any one given play could win, could lose. If you stick around, I'll give you a shot. you got a shot to make some money.
Dave Koken on Twitter at Dave Koken. You're running hot as well, Dave. I believe a sweep from you yesterday. You're also doing Koken's Corner as well, daily free play videos. Let's hear a little bit about those videos and also what you have today at wagertalk.com.
I don't do them every day. I do probably about 4 a week on weekdays. I don't do them on weekends, but I do post free plays on weekends as well at wagertalk.com. So I'll make it easy. Just my main page there is wt.buzz/DC. Mark that down, bookmark it, and you'll get whatever I've got on a daily basis. I just was doing some number crunching, and since the start of July, it was mostly KBO then, and then, of course, baseball started. If you've played everything I've given out, you've increased your bankroll by more than 50%. So if you started with a $5,000 bankroll, your average bet, because I almost never do 5%, your average bet's a couple $100, maybe $250, and that's on a $5,000 bankroll. Well, that bankroll is now over $7,500, which means your bet size, it's still the same percentage, but you're betting about 50% more than you were previously. That's the way to go. And this special that's up right now, it's phenomenal. Okay, it's 100. This is good through Sunday, and it's good for any handicapper, not just me, Brian, Teddy, you, everybody else as well. So you can choose one or you can choose a bunch. It's a full 30 days, every selection in every sport that I post. $199. That's less than $7 a day. We talk about value all the time. That's value. Yesterday was phenomenal. South Alabama, my first college football play of the year. And that's a really easy winner. Got lucky with the Flyers, but it's, like I said in the free play vid, it's not shots on goal. It's shots in goal. And 2-0 sweep in baseball. So I'm real happy with that. Andrew, you are on a rock and roll yourself. Last 7 days, 32-16 across the board. That's 67%, and that's a return on investment of better than 50. That's major heat, man.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. And for me right now, I'm doing numerous sports, but very low volume in all of those sports. Currently handicapping the U.S. Open, NBA, MLB, and NHL. So, keeping myself busy, but staying low volume with all of them. And just like the both of you just alluded to, I love when you say, Teddy, don't buy my plays, buy the packages. And it's just, it's very true. We have the best offer going on right now, $199 for 30 days. There is so much going on. Marco just wrapped up his Pony Pundit show. The Kentucky Derby's going on. We've got hockey, basketball, baseball, UFC on the weekends. I'll throw it to you, Brian. I mean, we talk about sometimes monthly statistics, sometimes weekly statistics. Since the start of 2018 baseball, your clients are up 210% ROI. I mean, that's not a short-term record, is it?
Yeah, it's been very good for our baseball clients last few years. Had a winner yesterday on the White Sox, which I cannot believe the line was as low as it was. Steve was talking about my success with underdogs, but I'm 8-3 my last 11 favorites, and I don't play big favorites. The White Sox yesterday, I think I lead 144. Might have been the biggest favorite that I've released this season. But yeah, Teddy mentioned this earlier about getting these packages. Not only is it a great deal, but since we all do a lot of reading, we all watch the games. The earliest part of the season is the best time to make money in any sport, especially now with information is key with all the injuries and the guys opting out and the coronavirus. Guys I know that are handicapping college football, NFL, are going to have a huge advantage early in the season. Now, the NFL is such a public league. As the season goes on, everybody learns what they can learn about the NFL. It gets tougher to win. But if you sign up for a month or two and get the football season early, you're in great shape. And Ted talked about how everybody's been winning. I agree with him. I think with the football season coming up, with what's going on now in the playoffs and all, I think just about everybody should be doing really well right now. And at this point, we are.
That's great to hear. I mean, overall, 2018, those statistics you're mentioning for yourself and we're talking about for you, that's not a short-term record. And like you said, those start of the season, I think with the short seasons as well, bubble action in the NBA and everything like that, information, no home or away, all that information is there to help us and us to do our job, essentially. Quick hello to everybody out there in the chat box. We hope you're having a great Friday, entering a great Labor Day weekend. We thank you all for tuning into Wager Talk TV every single day. Without further ado, guys, we'll get into our first game here. Got the Rays taking on the Marlins. Fleming versus Lopez. Over-under is 7.5. I'll throw it to you, Dave, for your thoughts.
Marco always talks about the fat and sassy spots. This might be one for Tampa. They've now distanced themselves from the rest of the American League East. They've got a 5-game lead with 22 games to play, and they're off a really big series, super intense series with the Yankees. And now they're coming home to face a team they just swept last weekend. Why would my Siri go off for no reason? Freaking phone. Sorry about that. I heard a voice, and it's like my Siri on the phone. Anyway, sorry about losing my train of thought there. This is a dead spot for Tampa. And they're facing a good pitcher in Lopez. Now, Fleming's been really good for the Rays, but his last start was against the very same Miami Marlins, and he shut him out for 5 or 6 innings. But yeah, this to me, if you like situational spots, this is one where you go ahead and take the Marlins and get a little bit of a price to boot.
As far as the situational play goes, Teddy, do you agree with that? I mean, it could be possibly a letdown spot here for this Tampa Bay team.
So if I'm going to fade the Rays, it's because I don't trust Josh Fleming every bit as much as because the spot looks like a bet-on spot for Miami. But, Fleming is a guy who has looked great in his first 2 big league starts. He's also a guy who wasn't a particularly highly touted prospect and who may not be quite as good as those first starts have been. And it's a Miami team that's getting a second look at him, a short turnaround second look at him. So, I mean, when you first look at this, when I first looked at this price, I'm like, oh my God, Tampa's so cheap. And then you start to see why Tampa's so cheap. It'd be Miami or pass for this better as well.
Brian, we've had 2 thoughts here on the side. I know you're not always a totals better, but any thoughts from you on this total and then your thought on the side matchup?
No, I got nothing on the total, but I'm against the 2 guys here. I understand the situation about you just playing the Yankees and you're only playing Miami. But Miami right now is a playoff team, and the difference is the pitchers in Major League Baseball pitch once every 5 days. So Fleming's ready. And let me tell you a quick story. And I know we got a lot of games to talk about today, but there was one year the Cleveland Indians had just clinched the pennant for the first time in history. And my friend of mine worked at a retail store, and he ran into one of the Indians' legitimate best players, and he talked about the big party they had after that game for clinching the game, and they didn't, he just assumed that they weren't going to care the next day. The problem was the other pitcher, their pitcher that day, ended up throwing a shutout, and the Indians won 1-0. So just because the hitters may have a little bit of a letdown, this is a young guy coming, as Dave mentioned, he's only got 2 major league starts. I like guys coming in that are left-handers. I know Miami saw him before, but Miami's WRC plus is only 80 on the season. They don't hit left-handers. And as much as I like Pablo Lopez, he's only given up 1 home run in 34 innings this year. A little bit of luck in that regard. Tampa Bay is very good against right-handers. Tampa Bay's one of those teams that plays very well at home, 12-5. I thought the line was cheap. If you want to get more information, just go over to Wager Talk at wt.buzz/BL, and you can get all my analysis on this game.
I want to give a shout out to somebody over at sportsmemo.com that has a big play up today. It's Matt Joseph's Mid-Major Matt has his first 5% MLB wager posted to the website. Was $40, now $19. It's a prop wager. He's hit 9 of 13 that he's released now on the season. As the world of sports gambling and sports wagering continues to grow at Wager Talk, we're now giving out team total wagers, prop wagers, and Mid-Major Matt is your guy for that. So if you want a great prop bet for tonight, head over to the website at Sports Memo and grab that play from him for a great discounted price of just $19. Like I said, 9 of 13. He's been absolutely ripping it up, and also a great panelist and host right here on this show. So go show Matt some love and grab that prop wager. Next game up here, Cardinals taking on the Cubs. We're seeing the Cubs around minus 127, 130. Over-under is 8. I'll start with you this time, Teddy.
Sure. So my whole thought on Chicago is this is a team I want to be playing over the total. And the Cubs have been cashing overs of late. I think, 7 out of 9, 7 of the last 9 have gone over the total. And I'm not surprised. When you look at the Cubs lineup, and they're not hitting for average, but the power's there, the big at-bats are there, the runs are there on a night-in, night-out basis. The bullpen stinks, and the starting pitching has declined since the beginning of the season, with the one exception of Yu Darvish, who's been tremendous. St. Louis has been tearing the cover off the ball for the last week. They've been crushing opposing pitchers. Lineup's been in great current form. And when you see St. Louis taking good at-bats, they too are an over team in my mind. The Cardinals lineup at times, I'm not thrilled with their approach. Their approach this past week has been more patient than it has been at other points this season. That's a big part of the reason why their run production is so far up compared to where it's been. But Flaherty is not a guy I'm real excited about playing and over with. So the starting pitching matchup does not favor over. That said, in game, if this starts out as a low-scoring affair, maybe take some over in game because these are 2 lineups that are potent. And at least, I don't know that I trust St. Louis's bullpen all that much. I know I don't trust the Cubs bullpen 1 iota. So we could see more runs late than early in this one. That's potentially an opportunity for in-game bettors.
It's amazing, Teddy, because I've been saying the same thing on a lot of different shows that I've been doing, and it's hard to recommend a wager in game before obviously that's actually happening. But I feel the exact same way with you. If we see a low-scoring start to this one, that's how I've been cashing a lot of Cubs overs. Kind of disappointed I haven't been taking as many pregame. We saw it with the Pirates as well. That's a team that I've been singling out in game. If we see a low-scoring start, grab that in-game over, and it's cashing at a pretty good clip here. I'll throw it to you, Brian. Any thoughts here on the matchup or total?
Yeah, I'm looking at it a little bit differently than Teddy is. If you take a look at the last 4 starts, each of these pitchers have had against these teams with an average game score of 50. Keep in mind, an average game score is 50. Yu Darvish, 65, 61, 69, 58. He's been dominant the last 4 starts against St. Louis. Flaherty, 82, 79, 78, and 50. Two dominant pitchers against these teams. The Cubs have been on the road the last 10 games, all road games. Now they're back home. We've talked about this many times. This is one of Marco's favorite plays. It's tough to come back home and have a lot of success offensively when you haven't been home for a while. We've all got situations. You come home from vacation and you've got so many things to do. All these guys have kids. It's going to be tough for either one of these teams to score. I like the under in the first 5 innings. I don't play a lot of first 5 inning stuff, but this one, it's an obvious play, but I think it has some value.
Well, it is obvious, but I can't disagree with it. I mean, Flaherty's first time through the order numbers, they're unbelievable. This year, it's 0.74 batting average and a 4.03 OPS. And for his career, a 170 batting average and an OPS of 5-something. Those numbers are incredible. And Darvish is in phenomenal form. If you're going to get Darvish, you better get him quick, because once he settles in, he's been basically impossible. And here's a game where there's actually a breeze. It's not a wind. We won't call it a wind, but it's about a 10-mile-an-hour breeze out to right field with 2 righties going. And yet the total's still only 8 and 4 on the first 5. So that tells you all you need to know about how dominant these 2 guys are. Can't disagree with Brian on this one. I think that's the play. I don't have it on my card, but I might get to it. It's definitely a possibility.
Once again, over at wagertalk.com, you can get 30 days all access every single sport for $199. Originally $349. You're going to pay $25 for one pick, $40 for a 5% best bet. Like I said, you can grab 30 days all access right to your email or mobile device the second the handicapper releases the play for $199. It's just Dave was getting at me yesterday for messing up the price, and it was because I couldn't believe how great it was. Honestly, I thought it was $299, $199. That's just the best deal that we've ever had here at wagertalk.com. Padres, A's. I mean, if you like
Andrew, your connection is a train wreck this morning. You're chopping up like crazy. So
I'll dip out and dip back in, I guess.
Yeah, okay. In the meantime, I'll set this one up for Brian. It's the A's with Luzardo, who's such a talented young guy. And they're at home against the Padres, who actually got shut out yesterday. Andrew Heaney was very sharp in the game for the Angels. And it's a good matchup tonight. I mean, Davies wasn't good in his last start, but he's had a very good year. Luzardo is an impressive young pitcher. And this series, I think it's the most fun series of the weekend with the Padres and A's, 2 teams that look like legitimate teams to be going deep into the playoffs, Brian.
Yeah, I agree. These are 2 teams playing very good ball right now. Unfortunately, at least in the Padres situation, we may not be getting the value. In fact, I know we're not getting the value that we saw earlier in the season. They made the big moves in the trade deadline, and they're very deep. Yeah, this is one of those games that I think the line pretty much is where it should be. Luzardo gotten off to a later start. He's only pitched 33 innings this year. He's given up 4 home runs. Last year, he's just one of those guys that the Oakland A's have been waiting to come up. In fact, Oakland's got a few guys down there in the minors that are pretty good pitchers. Just they're loaded in the pitching category. San Diego's another one, and we haven't even seen Gore yet from San Diego, and he's their big prospect they've been trying to bring up. So these are 2 teams. I like the teams. I like their minor leaguers. In Las Vegas, we're the AAA team of the Oakland A's, and I go out and watch the games. They've got some guys on this minor league team that should be starting for a lot of teams in Major League Baseball. 2 good teams, 2 deep teams, but I don't see any value in this one.
Teddy, I'll throw it to you. Just a thought. We've seen San Diego. Obviously, everybody's excited about their offense. They're first in almost every category. I think second in batting average, first in everything else. But you almost look at it and think, God, that just can't be sustainable, even over a 60-game season. Does a game like last night's where they got blanked by the Angels, is that a sell sign for you in terms of their offense and maybe something that could work against them this weekend in Oakland.
It's not a sell sign for me. I think that lineup is loaded. And what we saw last night was A, Haney dealing, and B, Haney throwing a career high in pitches for a team that's playing 333 ball, which was a bit of a surprise for me from a Angels managerial standpoint. But when you read the quotes out of that locker room, when you read Clevenger's quotes when he got there, this is an excited team. This is a young team. This is a hungry team, and it's excuse me, it's a team I'd much rather have my money on than against right now.
Yeah, you want a drink?
Just
Yes.
testing everything out, guys. How's the connection doing?
It sounds better now.
Yeah, good job.
Sounds better. All right.
Yes.
Well, we'll move into our next segment, the rundown quick hit segment. I know we have the NBA tip-off show coming up directly following this show, including Teddy will be on that show as well. So check that out directly following first pitch. We're going to run through the games, guys. We have one game actually going on right now. We're going to start with Pittsburgh and Cincy. Just keep it quick here with maybe a minute to 2 minutes here with this one. I'll start with you, Brian.
Pittsburgh, Cincy doubleheader, right?
Yep.
Which game we talking about? Who's the starting pitchers?
The first game. 4:05 Eastern, first pitch.
First game starters would be, let's see, Ponce and Bauer are going in the nightcap. So
Yes.
this would be a Castillo-Brault matchup.
Oh, okay. All right, gotcha. I do want to point out that I think there's at least one doubleheader today in which the teams flip being the home team.
Yes.
They're still playing in the same place. They're just switching it up because there was a game on the road that was rained out. So keep in mind that even though they're listed as the home team, they are not the home team. It's not as big of a deal this year as it would be if there was fans and the whole bit. But go back before you place a bet thinking a team is a home team. Just go back.
It's this one. It's the Cincinnati-Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Because the Reds are the home.
Detroit was also flipping home teams, at least on my line service it is.
Yes, it is. You're right.
Okay. Cincinnati, I like the Cincinnati team, but as I mentioned the other day, I don't like the coaching staff. I think they're doing a lousy job here. Brault has been one of those guys that he's been pretty consistent. He had a bad start a couple of weeks ago against Chicago, but he's a left-handed pitcher. But he's done well against teams that don't hit lefties that well, and Cincinnati is one of those teams. So I slightly in here with Pittsburgh. I'm not going to get there, but I think the Reds a little bit overrated right now, and there's some value on Pittsburgh.
The only thing I'm doing with the doubleheaders, I don't like them, so I stay out of them. However, there are some interesting starting times today, and this is something you might want to factor in, especially if you see lineups that are favorable. Game 1 between Washington and Atlanta is a 4:10 Eastern time start. Game 2 between Minnesota and Detroit is a 5:10 Detroit start. Game 1 between the Reds and Pirates is a 4:05 Eastern time start. And game 1 between the Yankees and Orioles is a 5:05. Where is it? Where's the starting time on that? That's a 5:05 Eastern time start. Now, the reason I mention that is that's the time of day where you get shadows in play. It's not as bad in some parks as it is in others. A good example of a park that's really bad for the hitters is Anaheim. I've been told by players actually going back years that the glare there is unbelievable. Those shadows are an advantage for the pitcher. So those are games where you might want to consider the under in the first 5 innings because the pitching does have a bit of an advantage over the offenses. Other than that, I'm not doing anything with the doubleheaders and will have no comment on them.
And that's, tremendous info.
Is there a theory or strategy?
What is that, Teddy?
I was going to say that's tremendous info, and it's 100. I mean, Anaheim. I tried to bucket. I'm trying to remember the matchup. There was a pitching matchup in Anaheim, and I tried to bucket on a with 2 hot lineups and in an awkward start time, and it was nothing into the 5th. I'm like, I'm an idiot. It is very strong in various ballparks with the awkward start times affecting the hitters. I'm like both of you guys. Certainly, when it comes to doubleheaders. This year, I'm doing very, very little. I do know this much, however. There's no team in MLB that's been a bigger disappointment than the Cincinnati Reds. It's really not that close. Cincy, the most disappointing team in all of baseball.
I disagree.
I'm not trying to lay $1.75 with a team that is the most disappointing team in the league. It'd be Pirates or pass a priori for me. Before you even try to handicap it, they're 5 under 500, nasty run differential. Cincy's no good to be laying this type of number.
No, but I will disagree with you. The Diamondbacks are a bigger disappointment, and they're the worst team in baseball now.
Yeah, I'll take the Reds still. The Reds were more hyped than the Diamondbacks coming in.
Washington's the world champs, and they're playing terrible.
The prices that we're seeing with Cincinnati on a daily basis, though, are just constantly, for me, it's just
if you're talking about burning money, the Reds, they're the kings as far as that's concerned. And I do agree with everything you said, Teddy.
Prices that they don't deserve.
They're a bad organization. I said that at the
beginning. If I can throw it to you,
when we started doing this show at the beginning of the season, part of the reason I wasn't as high on the Reds as basically the entire world. They're a bad organization from the top down. They don't know what they're doing.
Next game up here we're going to get to is Toronto taking on Boston here. Rourke versus Godley. If I may throw it to you here, Brian, to start things off for us.
Yeah, another doubleheader situation between these two teams. Rourke and Godley. I trust Rourke a little bit more than I trust Godley. You're looking at the last 7 starts, and including last year for Godley. His game scores 22, 27, 57, 8, 53, 40, and 30. Keep in mind, the average game score is 50. So he had a 57 and a 53, but he also had 22, 27, and 8. I'm not back in Boston, not in this ballpark. And Tanner Rourke hasn't really looked that great this year either. He's got basically a 44, exactly a 44 this year average game score. I trust Toronto a little bit better than I do Boston here, but other than what would look like an obvious play on the over, I don't have a play on this one.
And I forgot that one. That one's also on the list. That game 1 is a 4:10 Eastern start at Fenway. And Fenway is not a good hitter's ballpark when the shadows. It's a big advantage for the pitcher in that ballpark. So 2 over pitchers and an under situation. That looks like a pass.
So, Dave, you called Arizona the weakest team in baseball.
Well, I think right now they are. I think they're the worst team in baseball right now. They can't hit.
Have you watched the Red Sox?
Yeah, the Red Sox can still hit. The Red Sox can still hit.
Yeah.
Arizona, I mean, if they get 2 runs, it's an outburst.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But one of the things I have tried to do early and often and repeatedly this season is find ways to bet against Boston, in particular find ways to bet against them at Fenway, where they have, again, 6 wins at Fenway this year for the Red Sox. And even last night where you had, with Perez throwing no through 5, even the night before where JD Martinez comes back and, we hit a 3-run bomb in the first inning and everything's coming up Millhouse for the Red Sox. Even with that, the bullpen is still so bad. They're losing. They're finding ways to lose. I can only fade Boston at home. And frankly, I wouldn't talk anyone out of betting against the Red Sox as often as you can.
By the way, quick note, Matt Boyd, who might have given some indications he was relocating his form, the first 2 batters, 2 homers.
Oops.
He stinks. Okay.
I believe he's given up like an average of 2.5 home runs a game. It's just been
and they're not cheap either.
No, he's getting
bombs.
We've got lots of games to get to here, guys. So we've got so many doubleheaders as well. I'm going to throw it to you here, David. Start us off at Washington, Atlanta.
It's a doubleheader, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No interest. Next. I'm not playing any. The only thing I told you on the doubleheaders was the weather, the time starts to watch for possible unders. I do know. Outside of that, I stay away from all doubleheaders.
I don't have
anybody. Brian, Teddy.
No, it's too many games to worry about.
Yankees taking on the Orioles. That's also the same thing that you discussed before. I think, Dave, you were talking about that matchup. So do you have anything on that?
Nope.
Or is it just?
No, there's 20 games in the schedule.
All right,
I eliminated.
No, 20,
the first thing I did was I eliminated all the doubleheaders. Didn't even look at them. Yeah. So I can't give you anything on any of the doubleheaders.
Let's go to Porcello Arrieta. Last time Arrieta was on the mound, I faded him. I think he's still always I wouldn't say a big name guy, but he's a guy that, I don't think that the price is accurate whenever he's out there. And, I love fading this guy, and I think he had a great run, and all of a sudden he fell off, and all of a sudden, his balls are just hanging out over home plate. No pun intended on that. So what are your guys' thoughts on this? Well, I'll start with you, Brian.
Nice choice of words. Jesus. It's a family show, for Christ's sakes.
Philadelphia's knocked the hell out of home.
He's throwing balls over home plate. He's getting hit hard.
Mets got a WRC plus of 122 against righties. They hit righties well. I would look at the over here. Not enamored with either of the starting pitchers, so it's a situation to me. You talk about letdown. I mean, come on, the Mets winning on the last two games against a crosstown rival Yankees. If there is a letdown, even though they're playing a division rival, I could see one here with the Mets. But I don't want to stand in front of either offense here against these two starting pitchers.
So let me give you here's the first time through the order stats for Arrieta. Batting average 342, OPS 1.036, and he's the good starting pitcher in this one because Porcello's first time through the order numbers are 436 batting average and a 1.156 OPS over first five.
So I know this again. Porcello and the Mets, no interest there. Okay, none whatsoever. And there's a Phillies team that is actually playing good ball.
They're hot.
Living up to the expectation when Harper's like, we got to win 9 out of 10, and lo and behold, they won 9 out of 10. This was a money line that stood out to me on today's card. I did a free play video that you can see at the full analysis at Sports Memo or wagertalk.com recommending a play against the New York Mets. Also, you asked me about the Nationals, and just real quick, I ran into this from Ralph Michaels earlier. Nationals, just one of these, and I want to ask you guys if this means anything. Nationals 4-21 against righties, 8-2 against lefties. Is that random or is that real?
No, I mean it's sort of random, but it's not. Their lineup clearly does better against lefties than righties. You just ride it until it's not rideable anymore.
My thought process is, and there's a few teams like this today where a team's going to have a bad record or a really good record, but when you look at the WRC plus, it's going to be contradictory. Washington is 22nd in Major League Baseball with a 93, which is only 7% worse than league average against righties. So they've got a tremendously bad record, but it's not the offense that's doing it. It's the pitching's been bad in those games. So there's two sides to every story. And Dave's really good with the xFIP and against the ERA, that kind of thing. This is something else you also want to take a look at.
Yep. They're facing Malone, right?
Brian, I'll throw it back to you here.
It's a lefty that might be hittable.
Throwing it back to you, Brian, with the Brewers taking on the Indians here. Indians minus 140 favorites.
Yeah, this is one of those games that I think there's going to be a low-scoring game, at least in the first 5 innings. Corbin Burns is a guy that he's so much better this year than he was last year. It's just amazing. It's got to be injuries or it's something. He's changed something. In 2008, he had a 2.61 ERA in 38 innings. Last year, 8.82 in 49. In those 49 innings, he gave up 17 home runs. Now he's pitched 32 innings. He's given up 1 home run. Big differential when it comes to home runs. The Cleveland Indians are a team that doesn't mind giving up home runs as long as they're solo home runs. And this Milwaukee team does have some power. Obviously, Yelich is out there, always a MVP candidate. Carrasco is one of the guys. He's given up 6 home runs in 36 innings, and he has been one of those guys that will give up home runs, but will give up solo home runs. I don't trust either offense against right-handed pitching. I like the first 5 innings under. The only thing is you may see a solo home run here or there in this game, but that's the way I would look at this. The Cleveland offense still isn't hitting good. They're getting better looks, but they've been very lucky a lot of times on some of these calls they're getting. And to me, they're not back. They're getting better. They're making better choices, but I would never recommend them to score a lot of runs.
Dave, I've heard you. I don't want to use the word bash, but I will about this Brewers team. I mean, because of the prices we're seeing them have here and the numbers that they're putting out themselves. I mean, how do you feel about this matchup? Is it a bet on spot here for Cleveland?
No, I'm not going against Burns right now. He's gaining confidence. He's got great stuff. My worry on the first 5 under, I think that's the right play, but Carrasco's control has been really shaky. 17 walks in 36 innings, and he only had 2 in his first 14 innings. So 15 walks in his last 22 innings. That's scary for any under bet because one mistake when you put men on base, and there goes your under. That's about all I have in the game. But I'd still lean first 5 under.
I do want to point out that that's the Cleveland pitching staff's mantra is walk a guy to get to the next guy if you don't feel that you can have success against them. So I overlooked the walks a little bit when Cleveland Indians pitchers are pitching, and also the home runs because they attack when there's nobody on base, which is why they don't normally have a lot of walks. But that's the philosophy of this team. Every team has a different philosophy when it comes to pitching around guys.
So we definitely were talking about the betting marketplace for this one because this total opened 8.5, and I just saw 7.5 popping up.
Yeah.
All right. So when you've missed a number, you've missed a number. First 5 under has already been pounded. Full game under has already been pounded. If you like the under and you haven't bet it yet, you wait for the next game or another opportunity because this one is already gone.
If I can throw it back to you, Teddy, with this Chicago White Sox KC Royals matchup, the White Sox were my 5% play yesterday, and it seems like half of Wager Talk also had the White Sox yesterday. Do you have a play on this game?
No, I'm not in action on this game, and the price isn't right for me to get involved with Chicago. But that's the only way I can look. I mean, there's a big gulf between these two teams, a world of difference, and a world of difference in current form. And again, when you find the young teams that are playing well and excited about it, when you see the Padres on a run, when you see the White Sox on a run, those are teams I want to be betting on until proven otherwise. And right now, Chicago's a one-way bet for me. But it's a pretty steep chalk that you're laying here with the White Sox. Did not fit my definition of evaluation, so it's not anything I'm involved with.
I would agree with Teddy. I think it's too high, but I don't want the other team. And I mean, the whole world was on the White Sox yesterday. They were 11-0 against lefties, make it 12-0 against lefties. Against righties, not as dominant. Singer's been okay for Kansas City, but I think hitters are starting to figure him out a little bit. He's showing that typical rookie decline as hitters become more familiar with him. Dunning's been impressive so far. The kid can really throw. He's come back from this injury, and he gets it up there in a hurry. He could be a sleeper for this White Sox team moving forward. He's the one who belongs in the rotation full time over Reynaldo Lopez, who can't figure out why he was taken out of a game that he was getting bombed in. So,
my only concern here, well, it might not be my only concern, but Dunning's a guy who last time out, just on the 30th, his last start was against Kansas City, and he put up a 73 game score. 5 innings, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, no hits. Now, within just a few days, he's playing Kansas City again. I could pay the White Sox in this price range when they got going up against a lefty. They're not going up against a lefty right now. Kansas City or Cincinnati. Chicago White Sox on the season 11-15 versus righties. And coming into this season, I think they were 20-18 in the last 2 years against Kansas City. So I know it's a different team in the White Sox, but to ask that team who's got a losing record against righties to lay 170 on the road against, a decent Kansas City pitcher. And Kansas City is one of those teams, I talked about this the other day, they're a team that surprises you. And there was a chance last night in that game against Chicago. They had the bases loaded in the bottom of the 9th inning. They were down by 5 runs. 1 pitch away from that. Anything could happen in that game. They left a lot of guys on base. Kansas City can hit Chicago. This is a situation here where I'm not going to lay that big number on the road.
I apologize, guys, to you three and the viewers out there if my connection hasn't been too strong today. It's been, I thought, good.
No, that's putting it mildly. It
For the
absolutely
past
sucks,
couple weeks, couple
actually.
months, but today hasn't been the best day for it. Yeah, and that's why the apology is coming. I'll throw it to you guys, Teddy, for the next game. Houston taking on LA Angels here. It's a pick 'em price.
Yeah, so I'm not thrilled. I want to bet against both these teams. I think the Astros are a good not show overvalued, and McCullers has certainly shown more than his fair share of vulnerability in recent weeks and in recent starts, frankly. He's been hittable. And his home road splits aren't exactly gorgeous either. At the same time, Bundy, who was so good, we were talking about Bundy finally finding his way, and he had those back-to-back dominant starts, and since then, he too has been largely mediocre. It's an Angels lineup that I don't trust to hit the ball. Not a game that I'm involved with.
Astros have crushed losing teams. They have not done well against winning teams. But Altuve, MRI, so I assume he's not playing. So you could be seeing a lineup that has Toro and Mayfield both in the lineup for the Astros, and that means they're a 7-man lineup at that point because neither of those guys can hit a lick. That would have me worried about laying even a small price on the road. The Angels at least come out of last night's game. Not many positives for this team, but that's a good win for them last night, shutting out, getting a shutout win against a hot team, and maybe they get a little momentum out of that. I'm going to pass.
Yeah, this is one of those games that I touched on earlier. You take a look at the Angels against right-handers, 7-19 on the season. Damn, they're bad against right-handers. Well, you look at their WRC plus, and they're at 115, which is 15% better than the league average, and they're sixth in baseball in that regard. So they're hitting right-handers. They're just not getting the good pitching when they are facing a right-hander there. Any value on here to me is the Angels, and the Angels are a team I don't think I've backed all season. So that tells you what I feel about this game.
Dave, I'm going to let you close things out here on the show.
No,
If the connection
sounds good right
fairly
now.
poor for me, I apologize to you guys.
No.
Not too bad. Okay. Well, I have the chance. I do want to promote Mid-Major Matt's 5% play once more over at Sports Memo. It's his first 5% MLB play on the season so far, and it's a prop wager as well. Also, that $199 for 30 days all access versus the original $349. Good for anybody. Your favorite handicapper at wagertalk.com. A lot of games on this slate. We'll quickly go into the next one. Texas taking on Seattle. Seattle now around minus 130 favorites, Dave.
Cody will start, and King will piggyback. I don't know how long either one of them goes. Seattle's pitcher is Kikuchi, who I have no interest in. No, the only thing on Kikuchi, I mean, I don't know why. I mean, because he's not his xFIP is way better than his ERA. But I just don't want to really. I don't want to lay a price with the Mariners. I don't want the Rangers anywhere at this point. By the way, just nailed it yesterday with Lance Lynn, who was clearly disappointed at not becoming an LA Dodger, as it looked like he might be at the deadline. And he pitched like a guy who is kind of resigned to being stuck in Texas for the rest of the year. And I think that's the whole problem with this entire baseball team. The Rangers fit that category of a team that might be mailing it in. The Mariners, they're young. They're not very good, but they do have some exciting young talent. If you're looking at it from that standpoint, you can make a case for the Mariners simply because they're probably more excited about playing baseball than the Rangers are. Yeah,
that was a great call last night on Houston. I didn't think of that, and I watched the show, listened to the show yesterday. You made a great point there, Dave. The deal with Texas is their WRC plus is 70, third worst in baseball against lefties. So they don't hit lefties, and I'm not a Kikuchi fan at all. But you talked about the xFIP and everything. Here is something to keep in mind. Last year, in 161 innings, Kikuchi gave up 36 home runs. That's like 2.5 a game. This year, in 25 innings, he's given up 1 home run. The bad part for Kikuchi is he still has a 6.12 ERA, but not giving up home runs. Not betting on Kikuchi. Don't trust the Texas offense against lefties. The line's too high to play Seattle in the first place, but I think that's what a lot of people are looking at is how poorly Texas has done against lefties, but I'm not putting my money on Kikuchi.
Easiest pass on the board.
Yep.
And that's okay to do sometimes, especially with the amount of games on this slate. Guys, we've got May pitching tonight for the Dodgers. Dodgers massive favorites like they a lot of the time are. It's around minus 230 at this point. Is there a side or total we're looking at here? I'll start with you, Teddy.
I mean, what's the squarest thing in baseball to do? Throw the Dodgers run line in your parlay every night. What's it doing? It's cashing every night. Dodgers are not a team I want to step in front of. They are by far the best team in baseball right now. We can trust their lineup. We can trust their starting pitching. We can trust their bullpen. That allows them to win games by margins. And what are we seeing? We're seeing the Dodgers winning games by margins consistently. It's not going to happen every night. They won't cash the run line every night. But frankly, that's the only interest I have in Dodgers games right now because we trust the pitching staff and the bullpen. We're not playing them over the total. Dodgers run line is the way I'm looking.
The only negative I'll give on that is that Senzatella has been really good first 2 times through the order this year. He's an improved pitcher, so maybe he can keep the Rockies in it for a while, but not with my money.
Last 3 times Senzatella pitched in Dodger Stadium, game scores 29, 33, 30. And this is probably the best pitcher on this Rockies pitching staff. I don't lay these type of numbers with the Dodgers, but that'd be the only way I'd look in this game.
Last matchup here, guys, we're going to go over. It's Dave's favorite team, Arizona, taking on San Francisco. We've got Clark on the board taking on Anderson. Is it a game, Dave, that you don't want to be involved in strictly because of Zona? I mean, you've made it very clear how you feel about them. Do you want to fade them? Do you want to go under, over with them? You said they can't score. How do you approach it?
I will look for spots to play against Arizona. They absolutely don't care. They're mailing it in. They are a dead for the neck up team. But this is not one of those spots because I'm just not laying $1.25, $1.30 with Anderson. He's just not very good.
How do you feel about that, Brian?
This is my only play for the day that I have up on the site right now, so I'll sit this one out.
Well, perfect. If you want to grab that play from Brian, head over to wagertalk.com and grab it, or buy his 30-day all-access play or all-access package for $199 and get every single one of his releases from every sport at the website. Brian, I'm sure you're okay with me saying that. I'm sure you'd also wouldn't mind somebody buying the pick, but also just giving the option out there for the customers. Teddy, last game on the board. We appreciate you guys' time and patience. I know you have to get to your next show as well, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can only take San Fran in this ballgame, and it's really not that close. We've heard a number of reasons why nobody likes Arizona on this show, and that doesn't change. The price is reasonable, and the Giants aren't playing like a dead team. They're not playing passionless baseball. They took 2 out of 3 in Arizona last weekend. I expect them to win this series as well, and I can only lay the reasonable chalk with San Fran tonight if I was going to get involved in the game.
Thank you so much for all of you guys tuning in to First Pitch right here on Wager Talk TV. Reminder, it's a 7-day-a-week show. You can catch Dave and the gang tomorrow, hosted by Mid-Major Matt at noon Eastern time, going over the board and all the games. It's a great call by the guys to do weekend shows. Baseball is on the weekend, so we had to have a weekend show. Happy to have it. Good luck to all 3 of you guys. Thanks to Dave, Brian, and Teddy for their time. For all of you guys out there, best of luck with your wagers. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.